Welcome everyone to a brand new video, and as you might have guessed already, this video is going to be about The Guardian, a publication that not many people look forward to reading the news from, and unfortunately they've decided to make a video, and it's, as you can tell, probably not a very good one. The video in question is titled, Anime Gets Blackness Wrong. Here's how fans are fixing it. And, as you might have guessed, this is the most brain-dead take you have ever seen. So let's enjoy this together.
This is Dragon Ball Z, my very first introduction to the world of anime. And this is my cousin Dujon. I watched Dragon Ball at his house.
Growing up in the 90s means that you were only left with a couple of options to watch anime that had just never made it over to America. Those being either through bootleg VHS tapes, or if you could just catch it on TV if it were on early enough. And sometimes you didn't even catch it then. So a lot of the time, you were only seeing anime bits and pieces, not even like a straight continuity thing unless you were just that avid of a fan. But then we got the invention known as the internet, which made it much easier. But again, as a 90s child, it was extremely hard to watch those shows because they were either on early in the morning or on late at night.
Sick! I didn't even know you had the merch.
I've got probably about 5 or 6 t-shirts.
What?
There's just something about it. Dragon Ball Z to me is like the gateway to manga and anime.
Dragon Ball Z, back in the day, back in at least the mid-90s, was licensed and dubbed by Funimation, and it made its way onto USA Television, or as we just know it now, USA, or Law & Order TV. And so from there, you would actually see a lot of different Dragon Ball episodes, usually if you could catch them on the early morning, as well as with Sailor Moon, another show that would be another gateway to a lot of anime people. Just if you happen to be into it. And I think that those are pretty much your basic starting points in what people would consider their very first intro to anime.
But this is also Dragon Ball Z.
Yes, the Mr. Popo controversy. So if you've either been living under a rock or you need a refresher, here's this from the Dragon Ball fandom wiki that they've put together. It says, to some, Mr. Popo is claimed to be a variant of darky iconography, a racist style of caricature. On March 4th, 2000, an article written by children's book author Carol Boston Weatherford claimed that Mr. Popo, along with Pokemon number 124, Jinx, were derogatory stereotypes because of their black skin, big lips, and for Mr. Popo, lack of teeth. In 2004, Viz Media began to downsize Mr. Popo's lips digitally in the American release of the Dragon Ball manga. As for the Pokemon franchise gained international fame, the Pokemon Company also began recoloring Jinx's face and hands to appear purple and not black.
The first time I ever saw Mr. Popo, I remember just thinking, well, why did he look like that? I think that was actually my first introduction to what comic books were.
And this is quite a common portrayal of black people in anime.
For starters, you have the word gollywog spelled incorrectly because there is no Y, it's replaced with an I actually. Sometimes it can be spelled with 2 G's, or it can just be simply called a golly with a Y, but not this way. But also, that was something that was very popular back in the day, a product of its time, especially with Cyborg 008, the example that you used here. He is one of the protagonists in Cyborg 009, a very old anime that stemmed from the late 1960s, and of course, it was a product of post-World War II era Japan. Those are racist depictions, and there's no doubt about it. But anime right now, especially in current year, is not racist. In fact, I would argue against that every step of the way, myself being African American. Warner Brothers, one of the prominent studios that made some of those racist cartoons, even puts their own statement. The cartoons you're about to see are products of their time. They may depict some of the ethnic and racial prejudices that were commonplace in American society. These depictions were wrong then and are wrong today. While the following does not represent the Warner Brothers' views of today's society, these cartoons are being presented as they were originally created, because to do so otherwise would be the same as claiming these prejudices never existed. People now in the anime community, whether you want to believe it or not, are not racist people. And sure, you could probably cherry pick some of those comments off of social media like you do with Twitter, but I will always stand by the fact that there are not really racist people. And if it is, then sure, it's restricted to that one person, not the majority.
And yet, Anime has a big black fanbase.
It's funny that you use this picture to show off how many black people are into anime, but you stole that one from my Twitter, where I actually posted it. And it was a picture that I took at Anime Weekend Atlanta. I don't know why you didn't choose to credit me or ask me if this was okay, but, you know, to each their own. I guess you guys just really don't want to have to ask people to use something that would fit your narrative.
A lot of people seem to kind of think that racism doesn't exist in Japan, and of course that's not true.
To be a fan is to...
You're using this video out of context, and it really does show. In the video that was released by NHK, sure, you can call it racist. I mean, it could probably be, according to some people. But what it was about the coronavirus and how it affected Black Americans. It was more from an American standpoint, where you could see how blacks were affected, how they have less than 7 times the wealth of a white person. That was the essence of the video. There wasn't really any looting going on, but even if we did, let's not forget that there are things happening right now in current America that involve rioting and looting, but there are also peaceful protests. I think that that's a really strong statement to put into a video, but again, this is from me on the outside looking in, but you took this out of context.
Be cheering in one scene and like hiding your head the next.
Why is that? If we have black characters in anime, sure, that's a one-up, but it's not something that I truly need for validation in my current skin. I don't need to look at anime and say, man, this is actually kind of racist. There's not a lot of black characters, or the ones that they put in there, well, they're not black enough. What is the definition of black enough for you? Do they have to have an afro? Do they have to have black slang? Do they have to use ebonics? Because if that's the case, then that's pretty racist on its own. That's fucking stupid. When I look back at a video that I did near the beginning of my YouTube career, it was called Neo Yokio is Awful Rant. And in it, the comments are still there, where people called me racist because I thought that the main character was black and that's not a good thing. When none of my argument was ever presented as such. It was always the art direction, the voice acting. It was the animation with missing frames. There were people with no mouths. It was something that had literally zero quality. But of course, they accused me of hating it because I was racist. Despite the fact that I am also black myself. Just because I don't like something that has a black main character doesn't make me racist. And of course, there were people that were replying, why does every black male have to be masculine? Why can't they just be something different? Well, the answer to that is because when they do something different, you turn around and complain about it on twitter.com, where you start asking, why are there so many nerdy black people? Why are there so many twink-looking black people when you were championing for something just like this? I'm not going to dwell on this picture too much, but let's go ahead and throw this out here really quick. Piccolo's not black. Also, Yoruichi is a really good character in Bleach. She's actually one of the best well-written characters. She doesn't have the stereotypical black lips that you're looking for. She just looks like a character. Also, from The Promised Neverland, you can see that there's a character there with the hair. She's a really good, well-written character as well. I think that you have a problem with good characters, or maybe they're just not living up to your standards of what a black character should be.
First of all, let's get something straight. I'm definitely not here to cancel anime, but as a black fan, I am here to say enough with the racism.
What racism is there exactly? The ones where there are virtually no black people, or the ones where they don't draw them to your standards? You do know that in anime, everybody gets made fun of. American white people also get made fun of the same way that the actual Japanese people do. I would say that black people are actually treated with a lot of care in anime. In fact, in the anime Magical Shopping Arcade Abenobashi, there's actually a depiction of a white American where he's being loud and obnoxious and saying the F word a lot. And he has cheerleaders, and some of them aren't all pretty. So is that racist against the white people, or is it just poking fun because it's all satire? You be the judge of that.
One of my favorite anime shows is Durarara, but the Black Russian is a problem.
But why is he a problem? Because of the way that he's drawn? Because he looks like just a black person to me. I really don't put that much value into how big their lips have to be. That sounds pretty racist if you start doing that. But also, he's a well-written character. He's not just, throwaway random black person who's, doing a certain thing. In fact, the character, Black Russian, by his real name, Simon Brezhnev, is actually an African-American male that was born in Russia, raised by American parents, which is why he has the linguistics that he does. That's why he uses the slang that he does. And also, he is one of the strongest men in Ikebukuro, which means that he's a really well-drawn character with a lot of motivation and a lot of presence in the world of Durarara. Yeah, it's always going to be hard for me to say. But yeah, he's one of the strongest characters, one of the strongest men in Ikebukuro. But again, you don't like him because of how he's drawn. His lips aren't even exaggerated like that, and plus he stands out because, of course, he is African-American, or African-Russian, because, that's how you distinguish people, is by facial features. If they just threw a black paint on this dude, if he was Asian, then you'd be crying that it was blackface.
For the love of God, redraw him.
Yeah, Japanese animators that spend all of your time making this adaptation, go back to the drawing board and make him specifically how I said that you should make him. That'll show those fucking racists.
Sister Crone in Promised Neverland, they lean on that minstrel look. Huge lips, bulging eyes, and it's disgusting.
I feel like you don't know enough about Sister Crone, but for those of you that probably do, Sister Crone was initially a supporting character and one of the minor antagonists in the series. So her normal look, which looks like this, is actually very nice. I think it's a great character design. The ones that you showed in this cherry-picked argument was something where she was doing evil or devilish acts. She's not a good person. And even when it comes to the other characters that are doing something very evil, they also have the same kind of exaggerated features. So it's something where you're trying to pick and choose, but of course, if we tried to relate how Japanese people look and how black people look, even to how white people look, it all simply boils down to genetics. But most of the research that I was able to find from anywhere from 2017 and forward are about how it's not helping the race equality between everyone, when that's literally how it is. A white person will look totally different based off genetics from a black person.
And it hurts because it's so glaring that it is anti-black that it almost ruins the entire thing for me.
How is anime anti-black? Are there people just sitting around saying, oh, well, nope, sorry, black people can't watch this show. There's not enough black people in it, or we didn't hit the quota. So what do you mean by anti-black?
And even One Punch Man has Black Luster, who, aka Super Alloy Darkshine. I mean, it is very racist.
The one thing that you forget to mention in One Punch Man is that Darkshine, a character that is actually not African American, or black in any regard, is actually just a Japanese man who just used a lot of tanning oil. But again, he is one of the strongest heroes in the city. So if you find it racist, I mean, I guess that's fine, but it's literally not. In fact, Darkshine is one of the strongest characters, and you leave out that context, and I think that when you look at things in context, it would make a little bit more sense. Darkshine is literally being shown to have the greatest moral compass, so I guess being a black man that does what's right is bad? Question mark?
And it's funny because I was getting into the show and I was like, I just said, okay, we're going to ignore that episode. But unfortunately, that's something that black folks again and again have to do.
Fellas, is it racist to put oil onto your body or be a bodybuilder? Especially if you're black? Is it also racist? You do know that bodybuilders are a thing, right? And not just the black ones. White people look like they're a little bit darker too because of the oil.
If we want to be fans of something and we don't want to cancel the entire genre, we have to pick and choose our fights.
But why does anime get blackness so badly wrong? To try and understand what's going on here, especially with a lot of the older shows, we need to think about this in context.
That's kind of rich considering that you've taken mostly everything in this video out of context.
They're looking at us through the lens of American media, American television.
Well, yeah, because they don't live in America. Everything that they see is through the media that we consume, because now the internet has made all of those things widely available. And also, I guess that it's racist to have a black woman on the cover of breakfast products. Aunt Jemima is literally not even racist.
There were no images of black people in animation outside of Disney and Warner Brothers animation in the 40s and 50s, and those images of us were very racist.
They were racist, and we've moved on from that racism. But the only way to learn that it was actually bad is to keep everything in the entire presentation as it were originally intended. That's why I read the statement earlier from Warner Brothers. We shouldn't be erasing American history to appease the crybabies.
I would direct your attention to the Jungle Book.
Well, what was racist about that? Or are you being racist by assuming that the black people are actually the monkeys and they want to be just like humans? It's literally the Jungle Book. None of them have races except for the main character.
These references range from the grossly offensive.
It's always interesting to me whenever we bring up Jinx in any topic that has to deal with race in anime, especially since it was already kind of just pointed to the Ganguro girl fashion that they had in Japan, and it's still very much prevalent. You can go there and still see very much many examples of it. It just exists, and it's not racist. It's literally just a fashion statement. And so because Pokemon decided to adapt that into a Pokemon for, the various reasons that they adapt anything, is because it was something that was a reflection of the current world around them. Something that the creator had seen in the world in his own lens. But it was in no way intentionally meant to be racist. But unfortunately, they changed Jinx's color over to purple, so I guess we have that to look forward to from now on.
To the unhelpfully reductive.
Coffee from Cowboy Bebop. She's a blaxploitation character. She's basically Foxy Brown, but on Mars.
Blaxploitation movies, a group of films made mainly in the early to mid 1970s that featured black actors in a transparent effort to appeal to black urban audiences. Junius Griffin, then president of the Beverly Hills chapter of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, is sometimes credited with inventing the somewhat ambiguous term blaxploitation to describe the short-lived genre. There are a lot of blaxploitation films that defined the entire genre, such as Dolomite, Shaft, and even Cleopatra Jones. Those are the ones that would give black actors a chance to star in their own movies and appeal to the black audiences that would go to watch. So are we going to say that blaxploitation films are bad because anime has pretty much adapted something that used to be really popular in the 1970s, and I guess now it's bad because it's in anime?
Some argue that since anime is largely created for a domestic Japanese audience, creators can't be expected to respectfully represent racial diversity, because Japan is not a particularly racially diverse country.
Well, yeah, that's because it's true. In Japan, it is 97.8% Japanese people, and that's across all of Japan. The other numbers that you see here, or the ones that you'll see somewhere else, are mainly consistent of the Korean people or Chinese people that migrate to the country for work. And then the other small percentage is of the residents that come from white people and black people, which make up only about 25,000 of those people if you're African American. And unlike France, you can actually just see the number of residents, not the actual number of people that just happen to be there or visit.
But these excuses don't hold water.
This isn't a case of ignorance. There's nowhere on the planet where people haven't seen a black person.
Well, fortunately for you, you happen to live in the UK, which is pretty good to black people, if I do say so myself. Here in America, we have a little bit of systemic racism. I think that there's still some pockets in there, but for the most part, black people are doing A-okay. But if you go to somewhere like China, for example, then you get erased. They do not like black people in China. I think that you should be thrilled to death that you even live in a place like the UK, or even in my case America, where we actually have rights. Whereas in China, they get evicted from their homes without second thought. They get treated worse than second-class citizens, and they get stripped from any media that is ever marketed to them. Look at the case of Star Wars. They removed Finn because you can't sell the Chinese black people.
You can't just say it's like a thing without agency. It's not just like, oh, well, it was an accident that happened. It's like a conscious choice that people make.
When we argue about racism in anime, people are like, well, it's Japan, it's not here, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, with such a low population of 25,000 African Americans in Japan, I don't think that this company that is mostly consistent of Japanese people, or even if we wanted to go to the lengths of Korean and Chinese people, and their demographic is Japanese people, they don't have to put black people into their anime.
And what they don't realize is on a global scale, it is the same thing because it's all over the world.
Do you know what else was all over the world? Coronavirus. So should only white people get it? Or should black people get it too? I mean, I'm not understanding what your point is here about something being global. You know, TikTok is global, but it's technically Chinese spyware. Is that different?
And it's not just anime shows themselves that are problematic.
A large amount of anime fans, I'm not saying all of them, but like it is a lot of them out there, hate when other people who don't look like them come into the fandom.
It was really only very recently that I talked about being an anime fan online, because I don't like having those conversations day in, day out. I think where I see it the most is from my friends who cosplay. They'll get told, you can't cosplay that character because you're black.
A thing that you may not understand about Twitter.com is that these people got ratioed, and not a lot of people agreed with them. And on Instagram, I'm pretty sure there's a report function, and that doesn't represent even a majority. That doesn't even represent 10% of the anime fans that you're trying to bring up here as being racist in the fandom. If black people didn't belong in the fandom of anime, then they wouldn't be going to anime conventions, and you wouldn't be stealing my fucking pictures for your stupid bullshit narrative. Black people are allowed to watch anime just like any other ethnicity is allowed to. It has never been gatekeeping anyone based off of their skin color. It may be based off of them being a shithead, if they're trying to insert politics or something stupid into it where it doesn't belong, then yes, I agree, they should probably be gatekept. But no one's ever said, you're black, you don't have an opinion, and if it is, it's one or two fucking retards. I know I'm not supposed to say those words, but I don't even care at this point. I'm very passionate about people like you making it up to be as though black people are always oppressed about something. If I were really oppressed, I couldn't watch anime, I could never make videos on YouTube, I couldn't do anything according to you. But you guys sit here, being journalists of something, critics of things, and you say something that is blatantly untrue. And you sit here and spin it as the narrative. You say that, oh, well, you know, it's a lot of anime fans that are pretty racist, am I right? And it's just enough. No, it's not really hardly any. It's one or two people. And do you know what those one or two people do? They don't go anywhere. They sit at home, they twiddle their thumbs, and they have no friends. Because all of the real anime fans, guess where they are? They're out having fun with their friends. They're talking online with everyone else. They're having fun at anime conventions where they can cosplay as literally anything. You're going to cherry pick some more comments here, and you're going to talk about how black cosplayers aren't accepted. But I literally saw the cutest cosplays from a lot of black people. But of course, we're in the toxic majority according to you.
I've been called slurs. I've been called a fake fan. I've been called many names, or you only like it because Megan Thee Stallion likes it, or you don't know any anime.
Those are not exclusive to your race. Those can be literally applied to anybody. Mexican people, white people, black people, German people. It really doesn't fucking matter. I think that you're using something to try to say, oh, well, it's only directed at black people and never the white people. I don't think you've ever been in an Xbox 360 lobby of Call of Duty where white people literally call each other the N-word.
It's a lot.
So if being a black fan of anime subjects you to this much racism, then why do we love it so much?
I hate X, but I also love X. I love this 4th grade writing that we keep doing whenever it's talking about anime.
There's no one answer. For me, the fact that I didn't have to engage with Western politics and I could look at something else for once and learn about something else. And also just because these things are cool.
You just explained literally the reason why people like anime. They don't want Western politics in their shows, unless you're going there for politics, but they do it because it's cool. Anime is a fun, and it's a very inclusive, dare I use the word, hobby that people really enjoy. They get to bond with their friends and talk about what happened on last week's episode because that's fun. But again, this isn't mutually exclusive to race.
In a lot of anime that I'm familiar with, like there's usually some layer of prejudice against the hero. Like some people doubt them, some people think they can't achieve it, or just that they're hated.
That's almost literally any form of media. It's usually the hero, the rising of the hero. He's beaten down at the beginning, or he's treated unfairly, or there's a set of circumstances against him. And throughout the story, he's going to rise to the occasion. He's going to learn a lot about the world around him and learn to hone his skills or abilities. And that's literally every story that has almost ever existed in anime in some regard, even if it's a slice of life where the character has to learn to grow and, understand and realize that they're not going to be able to see their friends anymore in the same school setting and they have to move on with their lives. Those are things and themes that happen in anime. They're not, again, I don't know why this has to be about black people.
So Naruto, for example, he's treated poorly for a large part of his life, but he still rises to the occasion and perseveres to become Hokage one day.
That context really matters here. The reason that Naruto is shunned is because he was pretty much the sealed form of the nine-tailed fox, and that's how the last Hokage had died. So he was seen as almost like a bastard child by everyone in the village, as a good-for-nothing that was only pretty much riding off of the wave of him being the part of the nine-tailed fox. But after honing his skills and abilities, he's able to start saving the village that, despite not loving him, he loved it. And that's why he became such a good character. But again, context, blah, blah, blah.
I think that's proper. I mean, there's tons of characters like that who face that in their journeys. I think it resonates with me as a Black woman because it is just something where, existing in itself can be a challenge. Existing in a world that does not want to accept us is challenging.
I'm not going to go ahead and try to split hairs here, but I think America accepts you. You can live in America. You can buy a car. You could buy a house. You can go to the bank as a Black person. In China, you really just get evicted and then you probably get murdered on the spot.
I love Kurosawa films and things like that, and a lot of the anime followed those storylines. Just let me walk the earth like Cain and avenge the death of my master.
I was gonna make a joke, and you know what? Fuck it, I'll make it. Why would you want to avenge your master? That sounds pretty racist, bro.
There's a lot of parallels here with Black people's affection for kung fu films, but that's another video.
Do you think it's because the kung fu films are badass? Because that was a good video. This one's a piece of shit.
It's a really interesting thing now that I think everybody is sort of kind of coming out and going, yeah, I've been a fan of this for years. If they're over the age of 35, they're going to remember getting bootleg VHS, or friends got them and dubbed them and passed them around. And that's why the Black anime audience is older. People think, oh, now Black people like it too. No, we've been here.
Who said that Black people didn't like anime before this? I mean, sure, it was predominantly a white people thing for a while, but Black people were into it too. Even when I was a kid, a lot of the Black kids that I associated with, they were so into Dragon Ball, they would go anywhere that they could find Dragon Ball news, from magazines or, when the internet age came to be a thing, they finally were able to start looking up everything that was Japanese about Dragon Ball Z, and they were pumped to do so. Now it's an everyone thing, because no one was ever just not into a thing, I guess, but according to you, that's the case.
Anime references in Black culture goes back decades, especially in hip-hop.
That is why there's so much of an anime influence in Boondocks. Aaron Magruder, he was clearly a fan.
Aaron Magruder was so much of a fan that he did reference a lot of stuff from anime or even Japanese films in general, and that's why he has the style that he does. And he was responsible for at least the first 2 seasons, I think even maybe season 3, and those were the greatest seasons of the Boondocks in my opinion. And near the end it started to get a little weird because they didn't have him on board, but now it seems like a lot of the people that are upsetty spaghetti at the Boondocks want it censored. That's why recently Adult Swim came out and said that they're removing certain episodes from rotation from the Boondocks and Aqua Teen Hunger Force, to name a few, where it would eliminate those problematic scenes, which is a Black man's work. So now we can't have anything that's made by a Black person because it's probably offending the white people who are offended on behalf of the Black people.
LaShawn Thomas, who was also one of the people who worked on that show, he went on to actually move out to Japan and work on anime on his own. And he created Cannon Busters that came out last year.
It appears that Cannon Busters, an anime that was exclusive to Netflix, had a 100% certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes, but that was only for the scores of the critics. However, the audience gave it about a 67%. And the reason being was that the characters, while well designed and the animations were kind of shoddy at best, the story was just terrible. The plot was bad and there was zero character development, and people dropped it.
LaShawn Thomas was also one of the storyboard animation production artists on Avatar: The Legend of Korra.
And I'm betting now he probably wants to scrub that from his LinkedIn, because when you look at The Legend of Korra, again, it had nothing to do with African American talent or representation in the show. It was bad because they literally wrote Korra to be this weird Mary Sue for some reason. Also, you spelled Korra wrong.
So I do have a lot of hope, but I will say it's like by creator by creator.
There's so many things that we've accepted for so long because we were just so happy to be included at all. We can ask for more, you know? And I think that's what a lot of fans are doing.
No, a lot of people really aren't doing the thing that you think that they are. I mean, it's good that we can get more if we can, but it's not a thing that makes or breaks anything. In fact, I think that people are pretty okay with the fact that they don't have to see themselves represented on screen. Not every white person is going to identify with a white person. Maybe they might identify more with a black person. Who fucking knows?
You'll have more folks who are like, I would like to be in a space where I'm not feeling so entirely alone. There are so many people like myself who are interested in this sort of thing. It's not just like a white fascination. It's like a thing that a lot of people share in and enjoy.
Yes, there are a lot of black cosplayers. There are a lot of black anti-tuber channels where people go over the things that they like. And obviously I haven't covered all of them because it's just really hard to do. But when you look at the overwhelming amount of people that are into anime, you'd be surprised that a lot of black people really love it. And unfortunately, I was a little hard on our good friend Link. God, I'll still never get over the PTSD that I've been doing the thing. Okay, anyways, but yeah, there's nothing quite like that to really get the people going.
I've got lifelong friends just off the back of the fact that we geeked out together. I love anime. Like, I love it.
There's spaces that are like advertised as just like, look, if you're black and you're into this stuff, then like come on down. It will be, you know, in a convention hall somewhere in the States.
Yeah, I know, because I've seen them on the floor, and you took the picture that I took of them on the floor and used it in this video for no other reason other than to, you know, fit a narrative.
We feel encouraged to make a space where fans like us can feel welcomed and no one feels excluded. It's really about a community and being able to enjoy it together.
I hope you mean the anime community, because if you wanted a black-only space for anime fans, that kind of seems a little racist, if you don't mind me saying. So, for my final rant here, I think that this video is very ill-informed. It is very stupid. Let's just keep it real here. It is a video that tries to explain how racist anime is and how we're not trying to cancel it, but at the same time you want it catered specifically to you. You want characters drawn your way. You want black characters to be drawn the way that you want them to be drawn, but not by the original creator's own vision. And that's where the problem really arises. It's something where If you have something that you're passionate about, sure, you can voice your displeasure, but don't have other people suffer because you want it to be a statement. You want people to say that this is racist and we need to get it out of here, when anime is just blatantly not. It is not racist at all. In fact, they are usually products of their time. Like I said earlier, cartoons that were made in the 1950s all the way up to maybe even the 1970s were still pretty racist. But we have to move on from that. We have to learn from our past, lest we're doomed to repeat it. And at this point, I think that we have as much inclusivity, like I said, and dare I say the word, we have as much inclusivity now as I think that we've ever had before. Anime fans shouldn't feel left out because a character's skin color isn't exactly like theirs, or that they may look like a caricature, when literally every character in an anime is a caricature of something. I don't understand why we have to try to outdo the people for this. I don't know why this has to be an ongoing topic, that anime is racist and we need to change it. We always bring up Jinx as an example. We're bringing up One Punch Man's character, Black Shine or Dark Shine. I probably should learn his name. But you get my point. It doesn't really matter. The whole thing is that anime is not racist. If anime was racist, no black people would show up to anime conventions. You even put the videos of them enjoying it. But again, I've probably went on for as long as I can. But that's all I really have for this video. So never stop enjoying the things that you enjoy. Don't let other special people like The Guardian tell you how bad anime is because it's racist when it's not.